Welcome back to the Chronicles of the King podcast, where we take a deep dive into the life and legacy of Elvis Presley. I'm Megan.
And I'm Tessa, and we are two 20-something Elvis fans dedicated to keeping his legacy alive with a research-based approach.
Whether you're a die-hard Elvis fan or simply curious about a man who changed the course of music and culture, you're in the right place.
We are here to unpack the myths, explore the music, and get to the heart of Elvis's enduring impact.
Every other week, we'll bring you research, untold stories, and fresh perspectives on Elvis's journey. From his humble beginnings to his legendary performances, we're here to shed light on it all.
So settle in for a podcast made with a lot of TLC for the man himself, one story at a time.
Hi guys, today we have a super exciting guest. We're so honored to have him on our podcast. Today we have Tom Brown, also known as Tupelo Tom. You may have seen him on some of the behind the scenes Graceland videos, like secret hidden Graceland videos on YouTube. You've definitely seen him if you've been to an event down in Memphis for Elvis Week or the birthday. So we're really excited to have you on our podcast today. How are you doing?
Yeah. I'm doing great, and thank you both, Megan and Tessa, for having me on your podcast. I will say that I congratulate you for hanging in there with me. You contacted me right at around the moment I was retiring from broadcasting, and had a lot of crazy stuff going on. And then we've got some house construction here going on. So if you hear dogs later in this podcast, those are not sound effects. Those are they're right there. Millie and Maxine and Stella are right up there sleeping right now. But if a squirrel runs by, there could be chaos. And we will call that perfect imperfection because we couldn't make them do it. They have to do it on their own. So
my cats are always like special guests. Usually I'll have the door open, they'll jump up, you can't help it.
It's been quiet for like 2 hours. It's been quiet for 2 hours, but I'm sure in the next 40 minutes it's going to get crazy.
All good.
Definitely.
Yeah. But it's great to be here.
Yeah, and so you were talking about, we got you, like, you were getting off your broadcast. Can you tell us a little bit, about your career? I know it's probably something that a lot of people don't know about. Tell us a little bit how you got into hosting Elvis events.
Oh, well, we'll go back to the beginning. I was born on a Tuesday. No, I was born in Roswell, New Mexico, on Walker Air Force Base. My dad was stationed there, and my mom had to be there, I guess. And born there, moved to Tupelo when I was 3. My dad was an Air Force recruiter, so we moved to Tupelo when I was 3. So I went to kindergarten at Lawhorn, which is where Elvis went to kindergarten. I went to grade school at Lawhorn, which is where Elvis went. And I went to Milam, which is where Elvis went. So Elvis was just kind of always this larger than life figure that was kind of always in. I don't remember life before Elvis because, I was born in 60, so I moved here in 63. So Elvis is just happening while I'm becoming conscious of things in the world, And so I knew he was from here. I would see the pictures in the birthplace and stuff. I grew up in the neighborhood over around the birthplace. So he was just this mysterious figure that was just always around, like an older brother. I'm an only child, so he was like an older brother who had kind of moved away. I knew his voice, and it was very comforting, And I was always kind of in school, the Elvis guy. Everybody's got their thing, their thing they love. And I was always kind of the Elvis guy. And I knew when I was young, I wanted to be in broadcasting. I wanted to be on TV or the radio. I didn't want to be an actor. I wanted to be me, talking to people and just being me. Because I figured I don't have to study that. I'll just talk, and I can talk. And Johnny Carson was the host of The Tonight Show when I was a kid growing up. Now it's Jimmy Fallon and all those people, that are on late night TV. But Johnny was kind of the only guy then. And I thought, that's cool. I want to do that. I want to talk to people and be the host and, be funny. So I started, they offer a broadcasting major at colleges, to be in broadcasting, but that's usually news, like serious news people.
Yeah.
And that's just too serious for me. I don't like that. They didn't have like a talk show host major. So I figured I was involved in theater in school, in grade school and high school and stuff. I figured I'll major in theater to give me the ability to act like I know what I'm doing. And I'll minor in broadcasting so I'll know which end of the microphone to talk in. So that'll
smart.
It'll all come together. So I got to Ole Miss, and I actually went to Ole Miss, flipped my major, had to flip the major to theater because they offered a scholarship and broadcasted. So I flipped it. So I majored in theater, minored in broadcast, and did all the stuff that I could on the campus radio station and things. And in theater, I was in plays and stuff in theater. Wasn't really big on memorizing stuff, but I did at the time because I didn't know I didn't have to. But in college they grade on that stuff.
Yes.
And so the morning I took my last test at Ole Miss as a senior, I started that night at the local television station at 10:30, and they gave me control of the board. I put the commercials in the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, and I had the board. I kept the station on the air, putting commercials in movies for like 9 hours until 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
I mean, first night. They go this button, that button, that, and I kind of knew how to do it, but then they all left and closed the door. They've known me for like an hour.
They had a lot of faith.
You can't get a job out of college like that anymore, I'll tell you.
Yeah, really. The only thing I thought was they'll know if I'm in trouble because if they turn on the TV, they'll see that there's just nothing. So you can be graded really quickly. But I got into TV that way, and I wanted to be on TV, and I was in Tupelo for a couple of years. I went to Shreveport, Louisiana for about 2 or 3 years. Then I was in St. Louis for 10 years as a reporter, entertainment reporter, and kind of a celebrity interviewer. I did movie junkets and interviewed movie stars and stuff, and did those stories and edited them, and did them all together. And a lady that had family in St. Louis from TNT Network was visiting her family over a weekend and saw some of my stuff on the air. I hosted movies on Saturdays and Sundays from like 9 in the morning to 8 o'clock at night because we were a Fox affiliate. I knew Fox was brand new. And I was hosting movies, kind of doing what Robert Osborne and Ben Mankiewicz do or did on Turner Classic Movies.
Oh, I love that.
So I did that in, the 90s in St. Louis. And anyway, the lady saw me on TV and she said, would you ever consider moving to Los Angeles, to do this nationally? And I'm like, I'd consider it, but a job is always kind of, out of work in LA is not that big a deal. There's a lot of those people. So anyway, within 6 months, she called me and said, we've got this magazine show, kind of like an Entertainment Tonight thing that we're launching on TNT Network called Rough Cut, and you'll be interviewing celebrities. And I'm like, that'd be pretty cool. And they said, we'll move you from St. Louis to LA. I'm like, wow, that's cool. Yeah. I had just signed a new 2-year contract in St. Louis, and our owner, general manager, great guy by the name of Barry Baker. If Barry ever sees this, I owe my career to Barry letting me out of that contract. Because he was kind of a new guy there at the state. He bought it and was the GM. And I said, well, I just signed this new 2-year contract. So he called his assistant and she brought in my contract and he kind of looked at it and he was like, how long have you been here? And I said, 10 years. And he goes, 10 years, really? And you've got a chance to go to LA and be on national? I said, yes, sir, I do. He took it and he very dramatically just ripped it up and said, good luck on the West Coast, kid. I'm not going to stand in anybody's way. So
it's like a movie.
It is. It was. It was like a movie.
Very cinematic.
Oh, it was very cool. It was like one of those rack focus things like in Jaws, when the camera goes back on, he's at the beach, and the camera goes back. And so I went to LA and I was there 2 years doing a national show called Rough Cut. I was one of the reporters, and I was kind of the person. There were 3 reporters, 2 women and myself, and they kind of concentrated on newer, younger people. I actually remember having to tell myself to learn how to say Affleck and not Ben Affleck. I wanted to say, for some reason, this was right when their movie about the kid, the student thing, whatever that was, came out.
Good Will Hunting?
Good Will Hunting, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
And I was like, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. And they're like, it's not Ben Affleck. It's not Ben Affleck. And I'm like, how do you say? So I can gauge it right there. But I loved old-time Hollywood. I loved the old movie stars. So one time they said, and anytime we went out of the country, they kind of rotated assignments, to be fair. And we were sitting at the table one morning, and they said, okay, the next junket we have is in Paris, and Tom, you're up, to go to Paris and interview. I think the movie was Anastasia. It was like animated movie. Anyway,
Excellent
you can go
movie.
to Paris. And I'm like, go to Paris? Are you kidding? Sure. Yes. Next assignment after that, she says, Ricky Rosenfeld, my boss, another great person. She says, okay, right here. Next we have Juliet. You're going to be going to Rod Steiger's house in Malibu to interview Rod Steiger. We're going to spend the day with Rod Steiger. And she went on with some more assignments, and the whole time I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I'm sorry, can I flip that? Can we flip that? If Juliet would like to go to Paris, which she did, I want to go to Rod Steiger's house. And they're like, you're kidding. You want to go to? It's just in Malibu. It's like 30 miles from here. I go, no, I want to go to Rod Steiger's house. And so we flipped it. So, I mean, I had this great love of old Hollywood. I did a story one time with a guy actor named Tony Curtis, and never knew I would ever see him again. And we became friends later. So I got to do a lot of stories like that. And after 2 years, we were up against a little show. We were on TNT, and we were up against a brand new, exciting show called ER.
Oh, well.
George Clooney. George Clooney, did he see anywhere? Anyway, so we're up against that, and the boss comes from Atlanta and says, we're canceling the show. And I'm like, wow, so now I am out of work in LA.
Right.
You know, I could have probably gone to another market, a smaller, all I ever wanted to be was on TV, so I didn't really care where it was. As long as I'm on TV, I didn't really care. But now I've skipped from St. Louis, and I've skipped over 18 markets to go to LA, and now there's nowhere to go but fall way down. But anyway, the big boss came, Brad Siegel, and he said, hey, we need a person to run the production department at Turner Classic Movies. And I noticed that you actually produce all your pieces. And I said, yes, I do. I don't, because a lot of people they're the faces of the story. And they have a producer that gives them a sheet of questions, and they ask the questions and look good. And then they leave and they go to lunch, and the producer goes in and puts it together. Well, I had been doing that in St. Louis for 10 years, so I wasn't willing to, so I produced my own stuff.
Yeah.
And he said, you know how to produce, you know how to, he said, you'd have a staff of 15 people. And I'm like, okay, 2 or 15, it didn't make any difference. I'd never supervised anybody. He said, so would you think about coming to Atlanta to do that? And I'm like, yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Turner Classic Movies, that'd be neat.
Right.
Yeah, I'd love that. So, that was in May, and by August I was in Atlanta, and I had 2 months in LA to stay there. I was getting paid severance, and I had so I had been so busy, I had never been around LA to do stuff. So for 2 months I got to be a tourist in LA, and I did like everything you could possibly do. I had a guy I'd gone to Ole Miss with, was actually still works for Disney. He's a writer in the live shows. Like if you go to see like Aladdin Live or something like that, Disney World or Disneyland or anywhere, he's probably the guy that wrote the show. So he got me in Disney for a couple of days, and I got to hang out there. So I had a great time. And anyway, so wow, I've gotten you up to 1999 by now. So this is moving right along. This is moving right along.
I was one.
Okay, that's good.
I didn't exist.
Even then, an Elvis fan. Even
yes.
Your hip was shaking. And so anyway, so I had dealt with moving from St. Louis to LA, and then moving from LA to St. Louis. I had talked to this woman on the phone. She knew everything about me, my social security number, what moving van I wanted to do. I mean, everything. She knew everything about me because she did all the paperwork. And I had never met her. And so when I got to Atlanta, I went to introduce myself to her, and I thought, ooh, she's kind of cute. Wow, how are you? Nice to meet you. I'm Tom. And anyway, she became my wife. To cut to the end of the story, she knew that we had the same birthday, but I didn't know it for a while. And we do. I'm 2 hours older than. When I say same birthday, I'm like to the day and the year, and I mean everything.
Wow.
2 hours. 2 hours different. She's younger, unless I go to LA from Tupelo. And
right.
Yeah. And so I started working at TCM and being submerged in all those movies that I'd already loved. I arrived at a job that I had been preparing for my whole life at Turner Classic Movies. I'm in my basement bar now, and over on a wall, I have photos on the wall that I had on the wall when I was a kid. I loved Humphrey Bogart and Errol Flynn. Absolutely.
Love Humphrey Bogart.
Would get up. I'm reading a Humphrey Bogart book right now. It's called Tough Without a Gun. It's incredible.
Ooh.
Great book. Yeah. Isn't that a great title? Tough Without a Gun.
Perfect.
And I just love Bogey and Errol Flynn. And I would get up and I would watch those movies. My mother was this great person who, if I wanted to watch an Errol Flynn movie, if I wanted to get up from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. to see Errol Flynn, as long as I went to bed 2 hours early, she would let me do that. And I'm like in grade school and stuff. But she'd pretty much most of the time get up and watch it with me, to tell you the truth. But she was a big movie fan too, so she, So anyway, so I started working at TCM, and I had this great love of those movies, so I could sit in meetings and talk about, we could do that, but that was not a Warner Brothers movie. That Bogart movie, he independently produced that as a Santana production, which was his production company, and that was a Columbia movie, but we could license. So, I mean, I knew the distributors and stuff because I was just in this stuff. And over the course of that, in about the year 2000, we started working on a project where Warner Brothers wanted to do a recut of That's the Way It Is. And Rick Schmidlin was the filmmaker that went into the archives at Warner Brothers, as many archives as we knew existed 25 years ago, and pulled all this footage out. Didn't hear anything about any salt mines. I'll tell you that right now. We didn't know about these salt mines.
Would have been nice to know 25 years ago.
That would have been nice. We could have been 25 years down the road on this.
Yep.
But we didn't know the salt mines. And we did That's the Way It Is special edition. And I worked with Warner Brothers on that. And we had a big premiere party in Memphis. And I had gone to Memphis prior to that for a meeting with Graceland. And they didn't know me. I was just a suit from Atlanta with Turner, TNT and TCM and Turner Broadcasting and Warner Brothers, because we were all Warner and Turner were like a family together.
Yeah.
And at this meeting on this big table, still there's big round, like Knights of the Round Table. I'm obviously a little too smart about Elvis. I knew some stuff that they're like, how? And Todd Morgan, God bless him, who was their marketing person, stood up quite dramatically, I might add, and said, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "No, you're not a suit. You're an Elvis fan. Who are you?" And I said, "Well, this is probably a good time to tell you. I'm from Tupelo."
Right.
And Jack Soden, who's still the guy in charge, hit his hand on the table and said, "We finally got one of our guys on the inside." And later that year, they were doing like some very small little interview things at the Peabody Hotel. And that was kind of the beginning of Elvis Week, because this is 2000. They had Elvis Week, but it really didn't have a lot of interviews or anything. There had really never been any production for it. Yeah. And so in 2000, they asked, "Hey, would you come and do some interviews for us?" Because I had that broadcasting background of doing interviews. I grew up in the Elvis world, got a job at TCM in the old movie world that I loved, and started doing things for Graceland every year in August. And every year, and I'm telling you, this is about, I did it for 12 or 13 years. And every year when they would call, I didn't know if they were going to call again. And one year they called, and the guy who was in charge at the time, Scott Williams, he called, and I said, "Oh, I'm so thankful I got this phone call. I get to do Elvis Week." He goes, what are you freaking out about?" And I go, "Oh, I appreciate the call. I didn't know if you." He goes, unless you kill someone on stage, you're always coming back to do these interviews." And I was like, "Really?" Yeah. And I'm like, "Didn't know that. That's good. So killing, bad, everything else is okay." Right.
Yeah.
And I just, and I think it's, think of all the people that worked with Elvis, all the people he knew, all the actors he worked with, musicians he worked with, executives, publishers, people, friends. They've been interviewed 1,000 times. Yeah. And I'll tell you, the worst thing for any person that has a story is to sit down and know they are talking with someone that has absolutely no idea who they are.
Yeah.
It hurts. Like, you couldn't even research me to even know.
Right.
And I think with me, pretty quickly it became apparent, like, I knew who they were. I knew who they worked with besides Elvis. I mean, first time I ever met Glenn D. Harden, I started talking to him about Mike Nesmith albums that he was on, who was a guy that was in the Monkees. And he's like, you know, I was with the Monkees and, you know, with Mike Nesmith. And I said, yeah, you and James Burton were on his Nevada Fighter album. I love that album. He's like, you're the first person in the world to ever even mention that album. I said, well, I used to read the credits on the records to see
There you go.
who people were. I knew Norbert Putnam's name from producing Jimmy Buffett, Margaritaville, before I realized he was in the Elvis world. And get this, understand this, back in the 90s, I had to either have reference books or go to a library to get this information.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And if I'm reading a book about a song, I got to go find it in my collection, or I got to go somewhere and figure out how to get this song to listen to it. So when you worked for information, you made sure you really needed it, because it was not so easy to come by. So, I mean, I did the interviews for Graceland, and it's just been an amazing, and I'm still stunned that that people like yourself are like, well, you know, will you come be on our podcast? I really am, because I feel like I'm just an older version of you. I'm just an Elvis fan who just absolutely loves his music and wants him represented, you know, well. And Priscilla told me something one time that I've always remembered, and we were doing something, and she just turned to me and she said, you know why we love you doing interviews, don't you? Like, why all of us talk about it. She said, we talk about who's doing the interview. Tom's doing it? Okay, you'll be okay. You'll be fine. She says, you know why, don't you? I said, no. She goes, because you know where to go and where not to go.
Right.
You show respect for Elvis.
Exactly.
And I'm like, wow, you know, thanks. And doing a good interview, sometimes a lot of it is kind of already knowing the answer. But if you hear something that you know there's more there, you kind of go, well, wait, no, what do you mean? You know, I knew you went to that restaurant, but you said something about that, but that wasn't the end of the evening. What happened after that? And they're like, oh. Yeah. And some things I learned very early in doing interviews is if you're talking with someone and you can see them nodding, like you're asking a question. Well, tell us about that. And they're like, what they're doing is stop talking. I already know what you want. I already know. And so then you just try to stop talking and let them answer. But boy, if you can ask a question sometime, and when you finish asking it, there's silence, it's because they're thinking. And that's the greatest thing. And most of the time, most interviewers, if they ask a question like, so, you know, what was that like that night working with Elvis? Because if they hear silence, they'll keep talking awkwardly to try to fill it.
Yeah.
And I did that one time with someone, and he said, shut up a minute. I'm trying to think of the answer to your question. You asked me something I've never thought about. Give me a second. Yeah. He says, it's okay. Okay. I got but I just thought, it's okay. Silence is okay if you're watching someone think. Yeah. Because you're pulling something out. They don't have a prepared spiel about that. You know, I've interviewed people. Yeah, it's more raw. Yeah. It's real. I've interviewed people before that I asked them a question and they said, well, you know, I was in that movie in 1974, or was it 75? I remember I was at Chasen's restaurant, and they'll say, we got a technical problem. Oh, okay. So we have to do that again. And I swear to God, they go, it was 1974 or 75. I can't remember, but I was at and I thought, this is a performance. He's answering the question as part of a prepared script, including moments in the script that make it look like he's thinking. Like, this is I could not even be here and just go and give me number 3, give me your number 3 response or whatever. So if you ever do an interview with anybody and you hear them thinking, or you see them, Let
Yeah.
them think, you know.
Good advice.
So,
Yeah.
so it's just this, you know, and I've, good Lord, I've talked for so long, but that's what you get when you get somebody that does this, you know. Um, with Turner Classic Movies, with loving old movies, and with growing up in Tupelo and being friends growing up with a lady named Janelle McComb who knew I loved Elvis, and I as Robert Osborne said, who used to be the host, greatest guy in the world, Robert Osborne. I used to watch him before I started working there, and I ended up becoming his boss, which was freaking. But Robert Osborne said, "You were preparing your whole life for a job that you didn't know and didn't exist." And I'm like, "You're right." They needed somebody at Turner that knew how to produce and knew old movies, and it had to be way more research than just getting a book and reading it at your desk. And Graceland needed somebody to do interviews that knew Elvis enough that I can sit down with anybody and knowledgeably talk about it. And the best reviews I've ever had are from fans that'll come up and say, "Oh my God, you asked the questions we want to ask."
Right.
And I said, "It's because I'm a fan. It's because I'm exactly you. I'm right there asking exactly what you want because that's what I want to know too." And so it's been great doing that. And there have been so many people. I'm so honored. There have been so many people I've talked to over the years that, you know, are gone now. And toward the end of their life, they might have had some memory problems and things. And, you know, you never want to have them embarrassed. But their families, I had two or three especially I think of that have said, "If it wasn't you, we wouldn't have allowed this to happen. But we knew you would take care of them. We knew you knew their stories and could help guide them." And also the fact that they already know you. So you're a friend. So you're a friendly face. And I mean, that's the best review in the world, is when somebody will trust their family member with me in an Elvis situation that, you know, they want to hear those applause one more time. You know,
especially like, I think as you're saying, like all of the Elvis, you know, a lot of the Elvis people are getting older, and you know, we're lucky that, you know, we're younger fans, but we've been able to come into it in such a way that there are still people alive who have stories to tell that haven't been told. And I don't know, I'm sure I'm speaking for Megan as well, that when we've seen you do interviews, that you can see those moments of like, there are definitely some things I'm sure that people, you know, have their set stories in their head, or the certain things they'll say if they're asked certain questions. But then there is sometimes those little nuggets of something that you'll get out of them that you feel like you're doing it in such a way, or I guess I feel that you've done it in such a way that's respectful, like you said, was important to Elvis's legacy, but also, you know, understanding of this person and where they are, who they are. Like, it's not like this is some random you've never met or have no idea who they are, or you just did a basic Google search. Like, it's really it's very admirable, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Like, when to watch, you know, someone who's a fan and cares speak to these like incredibly important people in the Elvis story in such a concise and careful way.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it doesn't translate, because if it was anyone but Elvis, anyone but Elvis, maybe the Monkees, maybe the Beatles, you know, because I'm a fan. But I couldn't do what I do at a Bruce Springsteen festival.
Right.
I don't know the first thing about Bruce. I couldn't, you know, he's a great guy, I guess. I don't know. I don't like his music, but hey, everybody, you know, you got your thing.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, but then again, my wife doesn't understand my total and complete infatuation with Bob Dylan either. So I'm such a Bob Dylan fan. It's not even funny. I can only play him when she's not home. But yeah, it's a very specific knowledge, because I'm a fan of Elvis. But through that, I've, you know, loving broadcasting and TV and movie history, there have been so many people I've interviewed that have done other things. And if you can talk about other things they've done in addition to the Elvis stuff, it really, they feel like, you know who I am. You know, Marlon Mason, who is like the best person in the world to interview, was in, you know, Trouble with Girls with Elvis. She did every every TV show in the 60s and 70s. I mean, 1 hour cop show or detective show or sitcom. And so she worked with everybody. So I would talk to her backstage. I wouldn't do it on stage because nobody but me would care. There was one time I had 5 women. There was one Elvis festival, and I can go back and find it somewhere. But I had 5 women that had been co-stars in Elvis movies. But through my voluminous research, because I love doing it, I found out that all 5 of them had been in an episode of Mannix, which is a detective show in the 60s and 70s. And so that became my shtick that I did that morning. So here is so and so that was in the episode this and that, season 2, episode 5 of Mannix. She was also in this Elvis movie. Here she is, And so each time somebody would come out, I would introduce them as the star of their episode of Mannix, season whatever, episode this, and then, and they were also in this Elvis movie. And so I did that, and maybe 2 weeks later, I got an envelope in the mail, a little FedEx in the mail from Marlon Mason, and she had autographed a photo to me of her and the actor that played Mannix, Mike Connors. And she said, and it's such a great, I got it up. She said, to Tom, I like Joe Mannix, but I love Tom Brown. Marlon Mesa. And I'm like, this is so cool. So for me, there's people that have been there as guests that I just completely, the 3 that come to mind that my wife said, you teetered on the edge of embarrassing yourself. You were teetering on the edge of you were like Chris Farley with Paul McCartney. You've seen that clip of him. Like, remember when you were in the Beatles? That was cool. Barbara Eden, who was in Flaming Star, but she was Jeannie and I Dream of Jeannie. Lee Majors, who was the $6 Million Man and the Fall Guy, and Heath on the Big Valley in the 60s. And he and Elvis were like friends, and he was married to Farrah. And Tony Orlando, who I grew up in the 70s loving. Tony Orlando and Dawn. They had a variety show, and I still remember stupid jokes from that show. And you just try to not, fanboy too much, even though I had brought every Tony Orlando album I owned on stage. So I just wanted to show my love. But it was, hey, I only got one shot, to make it work for me. I thought if I go out, if they fire me after this, at least I got Tony Orlando.
Exactly.
So that's pretty cool. So there's those kind of things, but there's also things like, and the one I always remember, there was a guy named Billy Goldenberg, who was the music director for the '68 comeback.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and little bitty guy, little elderly, probably 85, 86. He knew Robert Osborne, who I worked with at TCM, which was cool. And I said, Billy, you did a lot of series music in the 70s and 80s and 60s. And he said, yeah. I said, you wrote the theme to Kojak. He goes, wow. So I'm talking to him about that, and we're backstage talking a little bit. And he said, when we did the '68, he says, I didn't know Elvis's music. So he told the story. So I said, don't tell me now. Tell me on stage. Save it. Tell me on stage. But he went to Tower Records on Sunset and bought all of Elvis's records, and pretty much is the guy that wrote those music medleys of all those songs together.
Oh, wow.
And when Elvis, he told me the story about Elvis wanting to do If I Can Dream, wanting a song to represent what he felt. And Earl Brown was a friend of Billy's, and they wrote it very quickly. And he said Earl came with those lyrics, and Elvis heard it and says, we're doing it. And Steve Bender, who was the director, they're getting ready to cut the song, and because they cut like the Elvis sang with the instruments in a studio, but then in a music studio, but then when they shot the video, he was singing live to a backing track. So, because they wanted that performance to be the one. And Steve Bender said, I want this shot. I want a shot that's like way up, and we're going to slowly zoom down on Elvis as he gets to the lyrics. And they said, well, there's no intro to the song. It was just, there must be, it just started.
Yeah.
And and Steve Bender goes, well, I'm going to need something. I'm going to need something. And little Billy on stage says this. He goes, so I just wrote 7 notes. I just wrote 7 notes, and that got us there. And I'm like, Billy, what 7 notes did you write?
Yeah.
He just went, da, 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 and I'm like, and the people just went crazy.
Yeah.
And I could see on stage, I could see him tearing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, I said, Billy, wait for the applause. I said, what did you just tell me? And he goes, I've never heard applause for that.
Mm-hmm.
He had never heard applause for the work he had done on the 68 special, because the next week he went on to another project.
Right.
And
Wow.
it was never, I mean, he did all that music on that show, and it wasn't until that event. It would have been 18 because it was the 50-year anniversary of the show. We had Steve Bender there and Alan Bly, who was one of the writers. They had never heard applause for their work on the 68 special, and especially Billy, because Billy was just, people ask me,
very
what was
like unsung hero, like
exactly. I mean, to be able for him to hear that applause with those little notes that he wrote, like, it was nothing. You're like, okay, Billy, all right, that's nothing, all right. And he said he couldn't get Elvis to stop calling him Mr. Goldenberg. You know, he said, I wasn't that much older than he kept calling me Mr. Goldenberg.
Yeah.
And he goes, but he's just such a sweet boy. He was just such a sweet boy. And he said, now there was this one guy around Elvis. He was not so sweet. He was a mean guy. He goes, ooh. He goes, you know, before I tell this, Tom, is Joe Esposito still around?
Oh my gosh.
And I said, no, Billy, he passed away. He goes, good, I'll tell you. He was an SOB. He was tough, you know. But he wanted to, he was, even after all those years, is he still here? Because he's so afraid of it, you know.
Yeah.
So it's telling those stories at those interviews, you know, that really is something I'm proud that I get to do. And I love that there are fans like yourself that are discovering those or find those. And, you know, the cool thing is Graceland, all those interviews I've done, Graceland has them on tape. I mean, they've shot everything. So I think hopefully in the future, we're going to be doing more to like help with the people learning about Elvis and hearing some of these stories, excuse me, from these people that I interviewed, because, oh my gosh, so many of them are gone now. You know, it just, that's why I always tell people back when we were doing a lot of these and people would come several times, they go, you know, I'm not going to go. I've heard DJ stories. I go, yeah, but it's DJ Fontana, you know?
Right.
Yeah. You're gonna go listen to the same 8 Elvis songs tonight. You're going to hear Suspicious Mind like 7 times. But you know what? I would hear ananybody telling those stories over and over, because it's them. And when they're gone, those stories are gone, but they're gone. And, you know, and I think about people like DJ, you know, that just had such a history. And, you know, it just, I'm so glad that they got to hear applause. Even after all those years for stuff they did.
Right.
So, and I'm so happy with the young podcasters like that.
I was going to ask, what do you think it is? I know, like, for Megan and myself, we both, you know, we became friends because Megan has this book club, and I've read over 100 books about Elvis, and I've only really been an Elvis fan since like 2022, since the movie. And Megan's been a fan a little longer since she was younger. But what do you think it is about Elvis and Elvis fans like yourself that makes you want to research more? I've been a fan of things in my life, and I've never been like this, I want to say, like, educated about someone I've been a fan of. What do you think it is about Elvis or Elvis fans, or, you know, that makes us have this kind of maybe neurotic characteristic?
Obsession.
You've got to be neurotic. It's not a bad guy to, you know, to learn about. I think a lot of young people, and I know this was true when I was young, and I don't think that's changed. I read a lot of biographies and autobiographies because I wanted to know what people did. Like, how do you know? How do you know, you live your life. It's like I always say, you know, we talk about, you know, Elvis was big in the 50s, and then he was in the Army for 2 years, and he came back and he did the Sinatra special, and he did GI Blues. Well, what I just said is 6 years.
Right.
It's 6 years. I said it in a sentence, and saying, and Elvis went to the Army for 2 years, and he came back, and I go, okay, right there, 2 years.
Yeah.
He didn't know he was coming back and have a career. He didn't know if it would be like it was. It hadn't worked for anybody else. Everybody else fell off the charts. They weren't there for a day, and all of a sudden they're forgotten. And he's gone for 2 years. So all these stories, I wonder about Elvis like on a random day, marching in the rain in Germany, getting in his tank on a dreary Tuesday afternoon. Still got a year to go. Been over there a year. What's he thinking? Is he thinking, I'm going to lose my house. My mom's gone. What do I have? And it's just so easy to go. And he was in the Army and he came back and,
Right.
but there's just these moments in time like that. And Elvis's story has they always talk about the 68 comeback special. He had so many comebacks. I'm
a 68 girl myself.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
I'm like...
There you go. But in 53, he goes to Sun and he does My Happiness. And if Marion Keisker doesn't remember him, when a year later, when Sam is looking for a white guy that can sound like an African American, there's this guy. Let me look through the files here. She doesn't do that. There's a comeback right there. He came back to Sun a year later. During that July 5th, 1954 recording session, we may have never heard from him again. Right. If he hadn't been putzing around on That's All Right, and Sam going, wait a minute, boy, what are you doing? Well, do it again.
Right.
Boom, right there. So many things that it could just go either way. And it happens over and over. Here's where the Colonel comes into the story and make of it what you will. But I always say Colonel is a thread in the fabric of Elvis that if you pull out too many threads, everything falls apart. Yeah. And for whatever reason, the way he marketed Elvis in making him not so available for interviews made us want him more. Had him record a bunch of songs in 57 to release every 6 weeks or 2 months or whatever in 58 and 59. It kept him on the charts, just things like that. And into the 70s. I think there's so much to learn and to get into the personal part of it. There's such a tale, an American tale of, and if you saw it, if the movie's what spoke to you, what grabbed you was the story of a young boy who came from nothing. I think the movie, if the movie did anything, it finally put a visual to the term abject poverty, which means nothing if you don't exactly, well, it's bad. Oh, no. I'm talking no floors. I'm talking no toilets bad. Yeah. And the white family living next door to the black family, and nobody cares about race because they're trying to eat. Right. And the kids are out playing together because that's who they have to play with. And they've got dirt and sticks, Oh, let's have fun. And we'll go down to the creek and see who can swim. I think that movie did that, and I think that movie spoke to you because it told you about a life of somebody that, hey, just because you get famous doesn't mean everything's solved.
I think, definitely. I've said that about the movie that, some people think like, oh, that's exactly what happened. I'm sure the first time I saw it in movie theater like 8 times. I was like, what the heck? Like, I need to know. And between every time I was researching stuff like, wait, did that actually happen? And a lot of the things were like, that happened. Not quite that way, but it did happen. But the narrative arc of that film was such a, like you were saying, there were multiple comebacks in the film, even, you see it and you keep feeling this like momentum and it reflected, I think, overall the arc of Elvis's life. In my understanding, I know now, like, it's not all accurate and discrepancies, whatever, but the artistic arc, the narrative arc is what drew you into this incredible story that makes no sense. I mean, you see, the birthplace and you go to Graceland. I know we did that in January. We went, we did our Graceland tour, then we went to the birthplace and we were like, whoa, like to see those two things contrasted is like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't know. It's definitely interesting.
I was talking with Angie recently and I think it's right around when we were doing our podcast interview with Angie, Tupelo Tom and Big Lou talking, by the way. And she was putting together the red living room display that was going to be at Graceland for Elvis Week. And for some reason, I had been, not for some reason, I'm on the board at the birthplace. So I'd been to a board meeting at the birthplace, and we got a schematic, like the dimensions of the birthplace. like 15 feet long by 20 feet, or 20 feet, 23 feet long by 15 feet wide, whatever it was. And as you said, I've got and I said, hey, you know what? There's a thing that Jerry's always told me. That Elvis wanted to know, would the birthplace fit into the living room? I said, what are the dimensions of the living room? And she told me, and the birthplace is like a foot shorter on all sides. So the birthplace actually would fit inside the living room at Graceland, because that's something they'd always wondered about. So, but there's just so many stories, and cautionary tale, that kind of thing. Substance abuse that was dealt with in the 70s in a way different way than it's dealt with today. I wish there had been things around that would have allowed, help for someone that had a substance abuse problem. And that goes for all the guys. I mean, pretty much everybody in that world was doing that. And you go back and look at how many rock stars, died in the 70s at 27 or 32 or whatever.
Yeah,
and
those numbers,
and Elvis died when I was 17, and I thought 42, not bad. Yeah, 42. But then I hit 42, and I'm like, now? Now? This is nothing.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. And I still, since I was a teenager, 17, after Elvis died, every time something would happen, a VCR recorder, you can tape it. Oh, Elvis won't ever see this. He would love this. All these little things, especially with technology, because I knew he liked.
We just did with our other podcast.
Say.
We just did an episode where we did like a list of things. Like each of us came up with a list.
Would have liked.
Yeah, ring doorbells. Dude would have loved a ring doorbell.
Yeah. There you go. We used to have this. We had this thing we do all the time. We would talk about backstage. We'd be like, Elvis on Twitter.
Hey, crazy.
Hey,
take his phone away.
Elvis coming downstairs going, hey, Sonny, how come you hadn't liked my tweet? I was tweeting about you, man.
Yes.
Red liked it. What's the deal, Sonny? I hashtag Graceland. I hashtag Mafia. You should see those things. Just these little things, like, things Elvis would never say, what's your status, man? I hadn't seen your status, or what's your, I need my, Daddy, I need my passcode. What's my passcode, Daddy?
Yeah, they would be keeping those codes away from him.
Oh yeah, because that would just be, it would be fun to see. And even things like Kindles. I just think about George.
We said that. That's what we said.
Having to travel with that,
exactly.
and if you, by the way, if you shoot the Kindle, you've shot every book you have right now. You haven't got you on your Kindle.
Game over.
They're traveling with a box of Kindles over here, so Elvis to shoot a Kindle,
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of things like that, and it's, I think for young people, there's just that story of amazing beauty. I mean, look at any photo of Elvis around any normal people of that era.
I mean,
like
come on.
Elvis in the 50s standing around I just recently saw a photo of him like at Grand Central Station. And he's like signing autographs. There's all these people around. And like the old guys are wearing like overcoats and like fedoras. Hey buddy, what are you doing there? You're signing those autographs? He looks like, like they're from like a cop movie. And here's Elvis.
And there's Elvis.
Like an alien. He's just like, hey, I've come from the future to tell your women I love them,
You talk about like Humphrey Bogart, like it's like the same time period. Like you have Humphrey Bogart who is still dressed in those suits and fedoras, and you have Elvis wearing, his pink lace shirts, and it's crazy that they happened at the same time.
Yeah, right. That universe, and it goes on. I mean, even in later eras, and it's
from another planet.
It's still it's still stunning to see some of the clips I've seen of from Epic. And by the way, how cool is Baz Luhrmann? I mean, I've been around a long time. Elvis Presley in concert is not a phrase that I have not. I mean, I've used that phrase.
Yeah.
Why didn't I come up with Epic?
Right.
EPIC, Elvis Presley in concert. It was right there in front of us.
Right.
And Baz just goes, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do that." And we're like, it's like somebody on Shark Tank. You're like, "Well, I could have invented that."
I
couldn't, but
what was I doing?
Yeah.
Megan has seen it and I have not seen it.
I traveled. I went
Megan
all the way spur of the moment.
My gosh.
Me and my friend Diane were like, well, we just decided that we were going to go to Canada one weekend, and that was it.
Just happened to be that weekend.
Yeah.
Millie's very excited about it. I can hear Millie upstairs. Millie is named after Millie Kirkham, who was one of Elvis's background singers.
Love
Because
it.
when we got Millie as a puppy, she would go, she would hit these like
high notes,
like in Blue Christmas. That that was Miss Millie. So
I love that.
I named her Miss Millie after Millie Kirkham. So you hear her there. You've got to tell me. Okay. First of all,
okay.
Did you just decide to go to Canada? First of all, that's cool.
They're texting in the group chat within 30 seconds. They're like, one of us, Diane, she's a little compulsive. And she's was like, guys, I think I'm going to go to Canada to see Epic. And I'm like, I have no money. I have no money for birthday. She's like, I booked tickets.
The closest to Canada.
I live like 3 hours away. And I was like, I'm working. I have no money. And Megan is like, I'm going. And they just ended up going. It was like a 5-minute turnaround. Like, it was so good.
Diane was like, I bought plane tickets. I have a hotel room. And I'm like, well, she's got all those things in place. Like, I could just drive to Canada. I got a passport. And so we did.
You get in the movie, though. I mean, now you've got to get in the building with the movie on the wall. You know, I mean, like,
we just like Canada. She just bought tickets to go sit in the TIFF theater. It was the Princess of Wales theater. She just bought tickets, and we just showed up. I know, it was very spur of the moment.
Well, that's kind of like Epic then. I mean, anybody could have done that.
It was very epic,
right?
It was gosh, anybody could have done that.
I know.
Just go.
We saw Pat Dunn was there, Joel Weinshanker, Angie, Alicia. We were all there, and me and Diane are just sitting there like our little Elvis freaks, just in the back, just like having a grand old time because we just randomly decided to go to Canada one weekend.
It's just amazing. That's just amazing. Well, good for you. That's some dedication there.
I'm hoping, we're holding out because Tessa, as she said, has not seen it. We're hoping that by the Elvis magic, maybe something's going to happen during birthday week. I know Joel Weinshanker teased that during Elvis week. So we don't know.
See. We'll be there.
Yeah.
I know. I have like a booked and busy schedule. Like twice a year, I'm going to Memphis. Like that is scheduled. The other spontaneous things, I'm like, I'm working. I have to make the money for the Elvis event.
But like,
well, that's understandable. Eating is nice, and a roof is good to have too. But that's
keep all my Elvis stuff. I need a roof.
Exactly. You got it. But you're the first person I've actually spoken to that saw it. Yeah.
I'll keep my mouth closed just in case. But I mean, I will.
I know the spoilers.
She does because she can't wait. But one thing to do a little segue here is there is good audio clips of Elvis talking about growing up, talking about Tupelo. And one thing that I've always wanted to hear from you, because, growing up in Tupelo, is we always wonder how Memphis reacts to Elvis. So I want to know, especially how Tupelo reacts to Elvis. Like, do they appreciate his legacy? Are they embracing it? Or do they just think it's a tourism gimmick?
I think that was true way years ago, like back in the 60s. Because I know that Elvis was not happy that the people in charge, when he did those benefit concerts, didn't build the pool that he wanted for the kids. And that was something that he had really kind of wanted to do. Because it's weird, that youth center. So when I was a kid, that youth center, I would go there, and there was like a ping pong table there, and the foosball, the soccer kind of table thing, and whatever the pool game is that's got a little short table with sticks sticking up in it. That's all I know. Snooker, maybe. And I remember the tile floors, green tile floors, and the ping pong table, and they had an ice cream window. You can get an ice cream cone, and that window's still there. It's boarded up, but you can still see where the window is. So that was my youth center that I would go to, when I was a kid. And the garden club, the ladies' Tupelo Garden Club, were the women that ran the birthplaces of music as a tour. I mean, there was the youth center and the literally 4-minute tour of the birthplace, and that was it.
Wow.
But people would come from all over, even because Elvis is alive in the 60s, obviously.
Right.
And there's people there from all over. I remember meeting Japanese tourists in the 60s. I only knew they were Japanese because they had the flags there, the USA flags and Japanese flags and stuff. And I'm like, wow. And so the garden club, and so Ms. McComb, Janelle McComb, was kind of involved in the garden club, but she had been like a family friend of the Presleys when they lived in Tupelo. So she knew them, and she was kind of an arty lady. She was a writer. She wrote poetry and things, and she was met my mom, as all women do in Tupelo in the '60s. You met at the beauty shop. Louise's Cut and Curl.
Love it.
With a K. Cut and Curl with a K. So
Fancy.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. With a K. And so she would be over at our house sometimes on Saturdays, and I'd come in from playing ball or something, and she'd be sitting there smoking cigarettes with my mother.
Yeah.
Hey, Tommy. Because I was if you knew me before I graduated high school, I'm Tommy, because Lisa, my wife, can tell. She said she knows if I meet somebody, if they say Tommy, she says, you've known them before.
A long time.
Yeah. So she goes, hey, Tommy, how you doing? I say, well, I'm doing good. Just, how's Elvis? She goes, oh, he's good. He's good. Okay, well, just tell him I said, hey. That's, So I would do that all the time to her. And there was a Saturday I came in one time. This is probably 72, 71, 72. And I said, hey, Ms. McComb. She goes, hey, Tommy. I said, how's Elvis doing? She goes, he's doing good. Hey, I got something he sent you. And I'm like, what? What? And it was an envelope, and it had a picture in it that was like a painting of, it's the I Got Lucky suit, the white suit with the red sash, the belt. And it's like a painting about that wide and about that long. And on the back, it has a picture of the world's largest teddy bear. It's like a promotional gimme thing. Colonel Clark. And it's got a printed signature. It says Sincerely Elvis on it. But above that, he wrote, to Tommy, best wishes, Elvis Presley.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my.
And I'm like, oh, wow. So she said, yeah, he wanted me to give you that. I always tell him hello from you.
Oh.
I'm like, okay, cool. And
Thanks.
maybe a year later, she came back and she had a necklace, a black onyx necklace, big gaudy gold necklace with a black onyx cross that has EP engraved in it, that he had worn at some party, and took it off, she said, and said, give this to that boy in Tupelo. So now I'm that boy in Tupelo. And then, and I would always, how's Elvis doing? Good. Okay. One time she brought me a scarf, a red scarf. By the way, I still have all these things. Now, the autograph photo, I showed it to Angie one time, and she was just almost had a heart attack, because it's got thumbtack holes in the top and bottom, and it's kind of, it's not bent, but it's weathered, because I had it up in my bedroom. I mean, I thought I was going to get more, So I had that. So I didn't take, and I didn't put it in a, acid-free bag or anything. Keep it out of the light, And then in 1974, she was at our house, and she said, Tommy, I've got something for you. She had this great accent. She had this big, and she loved me because Elvis's birthday is January the 8th. My birthday's January the 5th, and Ms. McComb's birthday was January 4th. So we were all kind of we're all right in there together, Tom. And she had these big glasses, and she talked like that right there. And she's a very outgoing, strong lady. And her husband, Roy, was so diminutive and quiet and dark hair and big black glasses. And he'd be like, whatever. And Elvis liked Roy because Roy didn't give a crap he was Elvis.
Yeah.
He couldn't care less. And Elvis thought that was hilarious, according to Ms. McComb. Well, anyway, so she got us tickets to see Elvis in concert. She said, I want to give you these tickets. Elvis bought a bunch of tickets because they didn't get comps. Elvis bought a bunch of tickets and told me to give them to people. And so I want to give you two to one to your mom. And it was a Wednesday night. And my mother is like, Wednesday night? I'm 14. What grade am I in? 6th, 7th grade? 8th? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to Milam, which is where Elvis went. My mother goes, he can't go to a concert on Wednesday night. I mean, and isn't Elvis doing a matinee on a weekend? And now my mother's negotiating for different free tickets. And I'm like, shut up. And Miss McComb said, well, he's got to go to the one on Wednesday night because that's the one they're recording for the album. And I'm like, an album? She said, yeah, they're doing an album, a live album at the Mid-South Coliseum, and it's Wednesday night. So Wednesday, March 20, 1974, I was at that show. And when the record came out, months later. It's the one with Graceland as the cover of the
Yeah.
album.
Yeah.
I remembered the show being a whole lot longer. And I'm like, I must have been in a daze because I thought it was longer than this. And, you couldn't go online and check the set list.
Right.
And so for years, I just kind of like, well, I guess I misremembered that. And then they came out with the Legacy edition of the show, and it's like the complete show. And I'm like, I knew there were like more songs.
I knew there was more.
They cut 20 something minutes out of that thing. So anyway, I was in that room, and Ms. McComb was an amazing lady. And one quick, if I can, one quick Ms. McComb story. She's buried like a block from our house. There's a cemetery. I live in downtown Tupelo, and there's a cemetery a block away, and she's there with Roy. And I go walk by with Miss Millie and Maxine. Hey, Miss McComb. She's Miss McComb to me too. That Elvis thing, Call me Janelle. I go, I can't do that. Sorry.
Can't do
When I started doing the junkets and stuff, the interviews, I told her, I said, I really look forward one day I can interview Priscilla. And she says, well, I do too. I want you to get to know her. She's a great lady. And I was doing a Naked Gun junket for the Naked Gun 33 and a third. And I was going to do an interview with Priscilla. So I called Janelle, and this was in the 90s. And I was 27, maybe, something like that. No, I was 37, 36, 37. And so I had moved on, and I was on national TV, and I was doing all this stuff. And she was proud of me. She said, I'm so proud of you for doing all this that you've done. And I called her and I said, I just want you to know that in 2 weeks I'm going to New York and I'm going to interview Priscilla. I said, I'm very excited about it. She said, oh, well, that's good. And so I get there to the junket, and sometimes with celebrities, they'll say, the handlers will say, yeah, don't ask about so-and-so. They're just here to talk about the movie. And with Priscilla, it was, you know what? She's focusing on acting. Don't talk. And this was to everybody, not just me.
Right.
But all my guys, everybody looked at me like, oh, you're going to have a problem. With like, you're going to get him not to mention Elvis with Priscilla.
Right.
So I go in and I'm very respectful. I go, hi Priscilla, nice to meet you. I'm Tom from, I'm still in St. Louis. So it's 96, something like that. I said, I'm Tom from St. Louis. Now, in the back of my head, the last thing I've heard echoing is this lady in the hall going, and don't talk about Elvis. Clunk, and the door closes. And I sat down. I said, hi, Priscilla. I'm Tom. I'm from St. Louis. And she went, what's your name? And I went, Tom Brown. And she went, you're not from St. Louis, though. And I'm like, what? Yes, ma'am. I'm here with Channel 30 in St. Louis. No, you're from Tupelo, Mississippi. And I'm like, and the shock, I think, on my face, she went, Ms. McComb, she said, Janelle. She said, Janelle called me and told me that one of his boys was going to be coming through here. So what do you need to know about Elvis?
Oh my
and I said, well, they told us. She says, I ain't worried about what they told you. You ask me anything you want to. And that's the first time I ever met her. And I got extra time with her because she said, okay, now we talk about Naked Gun. And it just amazing. And she years later she remembered that she said, I remember Ms. McComb calling about you, like that, I was going to see you again one day. And she said, here we are. So all those little things kind of prepare you for everything else. It's just, you never know what's going to happen. And like I said, I keep saying this, but I just think what the ETAs do to give people a live experience, is it, it's not Elvis, no. But you know what? It gives people a feeling of what it must have been like. And for me, because I get to be Charlie Hodge a lot on stage, which is like the coolest thing in the world. But I mean, just a lot of those, I hate capes. I'll just say it. I hate capes because there's so much pressure. So much pressure.
I'm sure.
Especially with David Lee, because he's so tall. I can't. David, help me out here. But there's the look on the faces of the older ladies.
Oh my! They get wild.
They look like they're 15 years old.
Yes.
But even the younger people, I've heard about and met so many people who came to an ETA show drugged by someone else and leave going, I got to do this again because it wasn't what I expected. My thing is always give it one shot. If it's not your thing, you'll know. But if it is your thing, you'll also know very quickly.
Right.
And it's just an amazing experience. So the podcast, the young people carrying on through podcasts, through this way of communicating that you can find. I mean, Jerry Schilling always said Elvis loved to bring people together. He loved to get a guy who was maybe a grip on a movie in a room with a guy who's a doctor in Beverly Hills, and suddenly they're talking about something. He said Elvis loved to bring those different kinds of people together, and he's doing it with you guys. I mean,
Yeah.
he is the thing that is bringing so many people together, and as you go through life, I can say this now as an older person. Elvis has a song for everything you're going through.
Always.
Every time.
Every stage of love, before you've ever been in love, when you've just met somebody, when you're in passionate love with them, when you're breaking up, when you go your separate ways and they're always on your mind and you think there may be suspicion in your mind. I mean, there's just songs for everything. And Old MacDonald. So, I mean, it's just...
and It's a Dog's Life.
You know, I mean, come on.
Song of the Shrimp.
There's no room to rumba in a sports car. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, no,
so on
and
that
sold them. He sold
What
them.
is your favorite Elvis song? Can you have just one?
I do have just one.
Okay.
It is Fool. It's the song Fool from the album. It's the album Elvis, but it's the Fool album.
1973.
There you go. There's just something about it. I think it hit me as a teenager. I think I was probably breaking up with somebody.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, being alive in the 73, 74, Elvis wasn't really in the gossip sheets because he didn't do anything anybody saw, so they couldn't gossip. I just went through a feeling in the 70s of like, man, I know he's getting divorced. This is really hitting him hard. Because Elvis was not a songwriter, but he was a song interpreter. And when you're a writer, what's in your heart comes out in your words. And when you're an interpreter, what you're feeling, it's find the words. And it's in your voice, and these songs spoke to him like Fool and Always on My
Solitaire.
Mind. Love Me, Love the Life I Lead. I mean, come on. He's just saying it right there. Solitaire, Never Gonna Fall in Love Again. I mean, all those songs are just, and so there's like an Elvis song, you know, Spring Fever, you're feeling good. Like, hey, Spring Fever, spring is in the air. Yeah, there's just like a song for like every moment of life. And Robert Osborne, I know I've mentioned him a lot, but he's an impressive person to me. He said, I envy, I mean, he was a connoisseur of old movies. He was a host of Turner Classic Movies. He said, I envy the people that have never seen Gone with the Wind or Citizen Kane.
I've never seen either.
I love Gone with the Wind.
Because there's such an experience waiting for them that they haven't found yet.
Yep.
And he said, all we can ever do is revisit it again and again and catch things we didn't catch the first time. But to the person that hasn't seen it, don't read about it, don't learn about it, just watch it. Let it happen, you know. And so that's the way I feel about everybody out there, the young Elvis fans, learning these things, finding these things out, and going, oh my gosh. I remember flipping around listening to a couple of podcasts a year or so ago, and it was two young people, and they were fascinated that Elvis had been in the Army. And I'm like, oh yeah, they didn't know. I mean, obviously, you know, they're learning.
Yeah.
Everybody's learning. And there's still stuff to learn. You know, Peter Goralick just had the book out about Colonel Parker, and no matter your feelings on Colonel Parker, if you're an Elvis fan, you can't decide. You can't decide what history is. History's history.
Right.
You can decide if you're going to ignore it or not. That's fine. But don't tell me you're an Elvis fan and you want to know everything you can and you don't read Peter's books because it's about a subject. I don't like Colonel Parker. Well, you should know about him before you make your mind up, because
people are that way about the girlfriends, especially too, or wives, or you know, all that stuff. It's very like nothing in this Elvis world is black and white. Like it's all, there's a lot of gray.
Right. It's
like
life.
It's life, and it's like we were talking about before, very human story. And I think even Riley said that. And From Here to the Great Unknown, you know, these are human stories happening to people who are on this stage. So they seem extravagant. But you know, just reading and learning all this stuff, it's fascinating.
And people are living in the moment, and they're not documenting. So things get messed up. And you know, I'm sure for the entire year of 1974, I knew what grade I was in. But now I would have to do math and figure out what that
Yeah.
was. It's not that it didn't happen. It's just that I don't remember it anymore.
Right.
You know, the mind is a coffee table, and you only can put so much stuff on it until stuff starts falling off the other side of the coffee table.
Exactly.
And my coffee table's full. There's stuff falling off all the time.
Mine's full of Elvis books.
Yeah, well, there you go. But man, you get to experience this story that is also still being written, because it's not over now. It didn't end in 77. There's just like a whole new chapter of stuff. I'm not as up on the stuff that's come out since 77, because that's when I kind of went to work and started living and started being an adult, and finding out things that were happening in the Elvis world, and not having the internet, which was, you know, an amazing revelation to be able to like find this information. I mean, in the 70s, I didn't know the name of his band was the TCB band. It wasn't on an album anywhere. It wasn't printed down. Those musicians' names, there were hardly any credits on an Elvis album. There was a recording engineer on from Elvis Presley Boulevard named Tom Brown. I thought that was pretty cool that my name was on an Elvis album. It wasn't me, but it was a guy named Tom Brown, and my name's on the
Take
album.
credit.
So,
Take credit, yeah.
Well, I met a guy one time, David Briggs, who was Elvis's keyboard player. And Norbert Putnam's a friend of mine, and I went to his house in Florence to have lunch with him one day, and he had told David Briggs, who had played piano for Elvis, he says, "We're going to have lunch with Tom Brown." And David walks in and looks at me and he goes, "You can't, you're like 90 years old." You know, he knew the recording engineer. He goes, "You're not the Tom Brown I was expecting." So I was like, "Yeah, but you're the one. I'm the one you got. So you're having lunch with me." But yeah, that was kind of cool. That was kind of cool to see my name on an Elvis album. But you're just piecing all these things together, all this information together, and it's so much fun now to be able to instantaneously just pull up your phone and go, "Oh yeah, that's that song. Okay, got it."
Yeah.
Instead of
we do it all the time. We'll like randomly think of something. Just the other day, maybe you can answer this question. We were like, what does the doorbell at Graceland sound like?
And we were gathering information from all over the place, because I said I'd love the Hidden Graceland videos. So the one where you guys are in the kitchen talking about the chandelier on that side step, we were looking like, okay, there's 4 chimes. And then we started researching 1930s to 1950s doorbells. So have you ever heard the Graceland? I
don't know that I have. That is fascinating. Okay. Angie's going to get a text from me today.
Right. Well, because ChatGPT, the liar that it is, says it was love me tender. And I was like, there's no way. It can't possibly be. I don't think he would have done that. Like, so we need to know what the doorbell would sound like.
ChatGPT. So I was coming up with an idea for a show that I wanted to do in Nashville. And I wanted it to be all songs with women's names, right? And so I went, hey, and I don't want to say it because it'll come on and talk to me again, but hey, chat, give me a list of all the songs recorded by Elvis Presley that had a woman's name either in the title or as a lyric.
Susan,
pretty straightforward. There you go. Yes. So it gave me a list of titles, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, okay, that's good. Okay, didn't think of that one. I'm like, wait a minute. What about Sylvia? It didn't give me, and I went, hey, chat, what about Sylvia? And ChatGPT, in that very non-aggressive, aggressive way, went, oh, good catch, Tom. Good catch, Tom. We'll add that to the list.
Yeah.
So you're not even going to admit you were wrong. No. And then I go, well, wait a minute. Marie's the name of his latest flame. Those songs, that's in the title. Good catch. Didn't catch that one either, Tom. You're ChatGPT. You're supposed to catch these things, especially the ones in the titles. It did have Susan when she tried, because that was another one I had in my mind.
Yes. Mary in the Morning?
It had Mary in the Morning.
Cindy.
Okay.
I don't think it did. See now, now it.
Well, I know, especially with Elvis stuff, ChatGPT.
Evangeline, I didn't have that.
Sometimes ChatGPT, especially with Elvis stuff. If I ask it, I'll ask it something. Oh, what was Elvis doing on this day? In whatever year, and then it'll say something like completely wrong, and I'm like, no, that's not right. I have to correct it.
And it's like, oh, thank you. I'll add that to my database or whatever. I think ChatGPT needs to watch the Baz Luhrmann Elvis movie first of all.
It should,
because there's a lot of stuff that he doesn't know. He needs to get interested a little bit more in Elvis. But that's what scares me though, and the name thing is an example. What scares me is that if I hadn't known those songs existed, I would have thought the list it gave me was a list of all the songs Elvis recorded that had women.
Right.
I wouldn't have known it. So what else do I not know? You know, that if I ask it something, you know, how do I, you know, do heart surgery? How many steps are you leaving out, ChatGPT?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I get kind of scared about that. Okay, so
yeah,
it's kind of like what Reagan said: "You trust but verify." I trust it, but I'm going to verify it too.
Right.
I'm gonna...
Sometimes it just says weird stuff, and one of them is that the doorbell is "Love Me Tender," which if it is, you gotta let us know. I don't think it would be.
I don't think it is.
I don't. I just can't see. I could see Elvis shooting it if it went off one time.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right.
It's kind of like the principle of the reason that there are not a lot of photos of Elvis at the guest house is because Elvis didn't have a lot of photos of himself up around. You know, the photos.
Except that one painting. That one. The gold painting. The angel with the clouds that he was like.
Oh yeah. There's a I can't think of the name of it, but here's your challenge. There's a Johnny Mathis album out there that is very reminiscent of that painting. Okay. And I want to know which one came first. So that's your assignment.
That's our challenge.
Okay.
I know the painting you're talking about, and it's very
the one he had commissioned, right? It's like the only one that he had
like
commissioned.
69?
And it's so funny because it's like he just looks like so like ridiculously like good in this painting, and I'm just laughing, picturing him being like, like, that's a good one.
I don't know that. I don't know that. Here's what I visualize see happening. I see Elvis going to the painter, going, "I love this Johnny Mathis album cover. Can you do something like that?" And he basically did the exact album cover.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna have to find
Johnny Mathis. But yeah, you're gonna find that.
It's,
the first time I ever saw that painting, I went, "My mother has this Johnny Mathis album. I know this painting. This is weird." So that's your assignment.
We'll do that. So, but
so much more to learn.
We do a lot of research for our podcast because we like to be more informative, and so we're like checking all kinds of books. We're checking documents, photos, whatever we can get our hands on. Yeah. And so we do research for these. What is the topic right now? Like, is there something specifically that you're researching? Because it always seems like you're in the know of what's going on.
I'm in the middle now. I read part one, and when you look at Peter Guralnick's book, you know, it's like that.
Right.
But the bio part is half. Okay. The other half is the letters. And that is what I am reading. And one letter will send me off down a rabbit hole to see what was going on. I go to the Elvis Day by Day book. And I get that out. I kind of cross-reference that with like, okay, this letter came out at this time. The letters are, and I'm so glad he included the letters. I'm sure he got a lot of pushback from the publishers going, who's going to read these letters? They're amazing.
Well, one that stood out for us is the one where he's talking, he's writing to Scotty Moore, right? Like earlier on saying, you know, that Elvis wanted to get back in contact or talk with him. There's kind of this idea going around that Elvis sort of ghosted him. And so that was definitely an interesting, there's little tidbits that I could see how that would send.
There's a lot of things in there that it'll have to speak to you when you see it. It won't be obvious. It's kind of like what I always imagined being a detective is, because you know, if a detective is looking at clues, there's not a thing that says, and this is a really big clue. They have to look at it and go, oh, well, that's a different caliber bullet. They have to like put that, like, it's not going to have a light around it. Exactly. You know, my teacher used to say, it's not going to be highlighted, underlined, and italic. It's just going to be written there. And you have to kind of know what you're looking at. And so that's kind of the way I feel reading these letters from Colonel Parker. The art of manipulation of, just because you signed a contract doesn't mean we've stopped negotiating. It just goes on. The negotiation goes on. And what he was able to do got Elvis so much more money than he would have gotten, regardless of how much Colonel Parker got or didn't get, you know, from in commissions or whatever. The subtle art of just kind of breaking down someone. Just, oh God, I got to deal with Colonel. Here's another letter from Colonel Parker.
Yeah.
Just give him what he wants. Just give him. I'm over it.
Yeah.
You know, and the loyalty that he had to people. The printers that printed Elvis posters up in through the 80s was the family that had printed posters for Colonel Parker in the 30s or the 20s when he was in Florida with this for the circus and stuff. Just this sense of loyalty of doing that for people. But the letters are the because the letters are the emails of the day.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And the
they're
voice
the primary source.
That's it. You waited, you waited a week and then an hour to get your photos back. And you waited a week to get a letter to someone, to get a letter back from someone to find out, or send in, 10 cereal box tops, and in 10 weeks you get something you forgot you ordered,
Exactly.
like a gun or something, a squirt gun or something. But that's that subtle art of manipulation in those letters. And I can't read one. It's kind of like the obsession I have that when I watch a movie, especially if it's filmed on location, I'll pause it and go, I wonder what that block looks like today. Now I can see that street sign on that street, and I know that's San Francisco. So I'm just going to go look on Google Earth and see what that street corner looks like, and go, okay, it looks kind of like, okay, all right, I'll keep on with the movie. And that was just like a 10-minute sidebar.
My mom loves to do that with. So she's lived in New York and London, and she'll always be like, you can't see the Big Ben from there. She's like, that's not possible. Like, this location is like, all this kind of stuff, the sidebars. And we all do that, I think, with Elvis stuff. For me, it's Elvis's voice. I'm getting my graduate degree in voice pedagogy, which is teaching voice and voice science. And so for me, I'm really interested in investigating the evolution of his voice and different factors and things like Charlie Hodges' influence on him, and then different musicians he might have been interested in and their impact on his vocal techniques, the different sort of eras of his voice. And then, it's so fun to be able to have something that you love that much and then research it as in depth as us crazy Elvis fans do.
I've told people to get the album, and you can listen to it on Spotify, Roy Hamilton's Greatest Hits. I think there are 6 songs that Elvis covered. He loved Roy Hamilton. Hurt and Unchained Melody. I mean, so many Roy Hamilton songs, and songs I didn't realize were Roy Hamilton songs. They're like, I got that by Elvis. What's funny is, in the 60s, I was into Elvis pretty much. Elvis and the Beatles. I'm one of those few people that could love both of them.
I was a Beatles fan as a child. Don't worry. I had a Beatles birthday party when I was 8. So I get it.
You could,
you could be both.
You don't have to pick a side. It's not a war. I don't have to pick a side.
No.
The Tupelo thing goes without saying who I'm going to be loyal to, but it was just interesting at the time of listening to the music and especially with Elvis, because he covered so many songs. I would hear like Blue Moon of Kentucky years by Bill Monroe. Years after I heard it, I'm like, well, he's doing Blue Moon of Kentucky. Elvis does that. Oh, that's the guy that wrote it. Oh, sorry. That's the he's covering that song. Or I'll Hold You in My Heart Until I Hold You. Like all the Memphis stuff. There's so many Memphis songs that he covered that are just old country songs. He'll Have to Go is a Jim Reeves song from like 1963 and stuff. So it's interesting. And what I love to do, and I challenge you to do this as well, is find a song that Elvis cut that was recorded by several other people. And I've got so many. I've got a playlist. My wife and I do this on Friday night with a bottle of wine. We will listen to a playlist.
Drop the link.
I'll drop the link. Listen, the fact that you can see me and hear me is as far as I'm pushing technology right now. It's the fact that we did that. I'm trying to find a playlist of a song that Elvis cut that is also recorded by other people. And I gotta find it.
One that's wild to me is High Heeled Sneakers.
Yes.
Or whatever.
Yep.
That's and you hear the original and you're like, this is what Elvis did. It's so different.
Yeah. Of course, now I can't find it. Only the Strong Survive.
Yes.
Only the Strong Survive.
Motown classic.
Yeah.
Jerry Butler, Motown classic. Bruce Springsteen cut it too. You know.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know
But
that.
what's interesting about it, and maybe another one, you never know. High Heel Sneakers.
Yes.
Tommy Tucker, Rufus Thomas, Pine Top Perkins, Johnny Cash with Carl Perkins, The Rolling Stones, Jose Feliciano, Jimmy Hughes, Everly Brothers, James Burton, an instrumental version, Booker T and the MGs, Chuck Berry, and then Elvis. And Elvis kicks every one of their butt. That's the thing about it. You play any song, even if it's the artist that originally did it.
Bridge Over Troubled Water. I'm just saying that arrangement is crazy.
Can you imagine the Elvisness of, I'm doing Aloha from Hawaii. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people around the world watching it. And I know Frank Sinatra did My Way when he retired. But you know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to do that on my Hawaii special. And ain't nobody going to go, Elvis, I don't think I'd do that. Frank might not like that. I'm going to do it anyway. And then he just kills it. So there's just so many songs. So we do that. We'll find a song that many different artists have done. I'll remember You's another one that a lot of people have cut.
Yeah.
Or, a lot of people have actually done Suspicious Minds, obviously, after Elvis. But you go back to that one, and there was just something about what he did. And if you can find it, there's also an album out there by Glenn Campbell of demos. That Glenn Campbell was a singer at Capitol Records. He was kind of a guitar session guy, but he also could sing a little bit. I don't know if you heard. And they got him to cut demos of songs that they were sending.
I have heard some
that
of
they
those.
were sending to Elvis.
Yes.
And so there's Spin Out is one I can remember. And it's Glenn Campbell. I mean, it's really a good vocal because it's Glenn Campbell.
Right.
But then you put it back to back with Elvis, and you're like, oh my God, this is just not even fair. And that was Glenn Campbell. And there's 5 or 6 on that album that were direct demos that Elvis listened to, and it was like, yeah, okay. You know, I remember I interviewed Mac Davis one time, and Mac said, he said, I can tell you one thing about Elvis Presley as a singer. He said, as the songwriter, the song started with "As the Snow Flies," right? On a cold and gray Chicago morning, blah, blah, blah. And then the song ends, in the ghetto. And that was the end of the song. When the kid dies and, whatever. And Mac Davis says, and Elvis is the one that goes.
And his mom cried.
And his, on a cold and gray Chicago morning, another baby child was born in the ghetto. And his mama cried. And he goes, Elvis is the one that made the song.
Made it a cycle. Yeah.
Just made it the vicious circle, and oh my God. And what you can do with a song as a singer is interpret it a way that speaks to you.
Right.
And, and even with somebody like a Glenn Campbell singing it, just absolutely owns it. Maybe we're a little biased. I don't know. I would like to think
I think, I'm someone who's a singer and I don't write music. And so for me, it's like to hear just how much everything Elvis sang had his fingerprint on it. Okay, I'll say maybe not absolutely everything, because sometimes you can hear that he did not care. I think if you listen to Burning Love as well, if you know that he just wasn't in the mood to sing that and didn't really like the song, you kind of can hear this, he's not giving his 110%, but when he does, and his fingerprint is all over that musical DNA. And that's another thing I think they pointed out really well in the Elvis movie, and something I'm excited to see in Epic, to be honest. But
Megan's already seen it, so she probably already knows.
Right. She's you'll like it. Yeah. But that it's this musicianship that I think is so often overlooked with Elvis. When we think, oh, Hound Dog, you think, oh, Blue Suede Shoes. You think this stuff that's, this was hugely influential back in the day, but nobody really cares anymore. But his musicianship is so much more than that, and so much more than those classic, top 10 Blue Christmas. You can, even in that one, you can hear he's kind of I don't really want to be singing a Christmas song. And so, that musicianship is something that I think is so overlooked. And I don't know. And it's so interesting and fun to be able to talk about it with people who see that it's not,
Just as crazy as us.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Music is, and it's what's interesting is, I always say it's why there's Coke and Pepsi. You either like one or the other, but there's one, you'll find one you like, you'll find a singer you like, you'll find a band you like. You might like the Rolling Stones more than the Beatles, or the Beatles more than the Doors, or whatever. That's why there's so many. But boy, I've never met an Elvis fan that ceased to be an Elvis fan. There's some music you listen to and you kind of move on from it. You're like, I'm gonna move on to something else now, and I used to be into that.
Yeah.
But pretty much, if you're an Elvis fan, and it's kind of like with Tupelo, with what I say about Tupelo, and you asked me this question a while back, and I don't know even if I even attempted to answer it, which is, what does Tupelo think about Elvis? If you're a business owner in Tupelo, it would behoove you to embrace the Elvis fans, because they're coming to town. And if you own a restaurant, have a blue suede souffle or whatever, have something that they'll go, oh, you're one of, you're a friendly, we'll do that. I think there was a moment in the 60s where the town was kind of like, oh, this rock and roller guy, because they didn't know how the story was going to end. It could have ended like, we don't want to associate too much with that person. But I think there's been enough worldwide acclaim of people knowing Tupelo through the Elvis connection that when they do come here, Elvis is the thing that gets them in the door, but they do see what the town is, and you're like, oh my gosh, because there's so many people that don't understand small town America that come here and they go, oh my God, this is like Mayberry. And I'm like, well, a little bit bigger than Mayberry, but they're not used to that. They're used to what's going on in the world, and it really is. I mean, I could have lived anywhere in the world I wanted to when I got ready to retire, and I came home, and people are like, oh, well, and it was kind of cool, because I started on TV in Tupelo when I was 22, and I ended in Tupelo on the radio when I was 65. And through all those other years, I was at all those other places, but I did that. Oh, I did a circle. I did like as the snow flies on
As the
thing,
snow flies.
Yeah, I did a circle. Oh, there you go. Oh, I'm gonna write that down. I did a circle.
Yeah. Well, and
so
it's definitely that, people coming to places with Elvis in mind. And, I would have never gone to Memphis, Tennessee. Like, I grew up in London. Why would I be in Memphis? Like, what am I doing? Like, and we come from all over. And then why would I be in Tupelo for any other reason? Never in my life would I probably have even gone to Mississippi. Like, so, it's broadening. And I think it's there for those who want to be respectful. That's something where, when you go to Memphis, like, people live there. It's not just like Elvis world, like Disney World, like, there's real businesses and real people. And definitely in Tupelo, it was like, this is a small town that it felt so different from being in Memphis. I don't know, like in a good way. Quiet. That's kind of gentle.
It's the extremes of Elvis's story. And what happened in Memphis was born in Tupelo. And I always say you're getting it it's kind of weird to go backwards, but most people go to Graceland first. If they've never been to either place, you go to Graceland first.
We were going to ask you this question.
And you see all the whoa, and then you come to Tupelo, you're like, oh. And the birthplace is quiet. It's quiet there. It's trees and, wind blowing and leaves. And sometimes on Friday afternoons, when we know we have bus tours coming, we'll have a person sitting outside with a guitar, like just playing like in the hills or something, just so you hear some music while you're there. But it's meant to be that way. It'll never be the big, giant complex that Graceland is, because we're not telling that story. We're telling the boy. Ours is about a newborn child through the age of 13. And the schools that he went to, and the life that he lived here, and the places that he went, and stand on that mark where he got that guitar. And everybody has a dream. And this dream, I love that statue. If you know the story of the Becoming statue on the hill, that it's got 13-year-old Elvis with the guitar, with his overalls on, looking out, looking west, and behind him is the big giant jumpsuit Elvis with the cape, looking up at the heavens. And he doesn't realize that it's right there. Your future's right behind you. You just don't know it yet. And that's why that is so important, because young kids, 5, 6 years old, they crawl all over young Elvis but we want that to be accessible because he was a little kid just like them. And we want that guy, that statue behind, to be a little bigger than life, because we want adults to look and go, whoa, whoa. Because if it was just 6'2" or whatever Elvis was, it wouldn't be quite as impressive of like, oh, wow. It's, you want it to be like that. And so Tupelo, I think, really does tell that story, and it kind of puts Graceland. You kind of understand when you see Tupelo, when you walk through the house and you read about what was here at the time, and you see the Elvis movie, and you see the depiction of that poverty that he grew up in with Sam Bell. You kind of understand the guy that's going to buy 12 Cadillacs for all his friends, and you kind of understand the guy that goes into
the red living room.
Yeah, you understand all of that. You understand, I'm going and I'm taking you with me. And I want a shirt in every color. Mr. Lansky, I want every one of those. And I'll take 10 pair of those pants. And what do you guys want? Exactly. Because it could be gone tomorrow, but let's enjoy it now. Because Angie always says the reason she has a job is because Vernon kept everything, because he thought this may go away one day. We may need another sofa. So
hoarders.
Or hoarders. But I think
exactly.
But from a sense of insecurity, Tupelo's just, I felt so emotional going there because, I think we went, it was like January 9th. So it was like the day after, or the 7th or the 9th. I can't remember. It was the day before, day after his birthday. And you go there and it was cold, and well, first we were like, oh, this is like how Gladys must have felt. And then we looked it up and it was actually like a really warm day, the day he was born or something, like unseasonably. We're like, oh, never mind. But, you walk in and you know what Graceland is like. And Graceland has a different feeling. And I just immediately started to cry, because it's like, this is why that is so bigger than life. Because this is where it came from. And I think most people don't understand that about Elvis. They think of, Elvis in the jumpsuits and the glitz and the glamour, and they don't understand that it was that little house, which what is on my mind right now is that stove that says the 816 on it. Like, that's crazy too. Like, just I think it's so important as an Elvis fan to see that place. And to go and sit in the church building that was like incredibly, the way it's set up is beautiful. And like you said, so different from the complex and the stuff. It's incredible.
The not the church, but the chapel, the little kind of modern looking chapel with the glass and the I was at the groundbreaking for that, and a year later the dedication. I think the groundbreaking might have been in January and the dedication was in August or something like that, like 78, 79. And Dick Grobe and Charlie Hodge were there. And the whole reason I went is Ms. McComb got me in. I'm in like a couple of the photos standing behind her when she's doing the shovel. And I got a picture made with Dick Grobe at either the groundbreaking or the dedication. And always thought that was cool that I had a picture with Dick Grobe. And years later, got to interview Dick and got to know him. And he had a lot of photos. And he and his wife, they put it into a book for me. They made like a little book with all those dedication photos, not knowing. And they gave me the book, and I opened it up, and I said, "Look right here, Dick. You see that face right there behind Ms. McComb?" He goes, "Yeah, that's me. I'm actually in this picture." He said, "Well, who's this girl right next to you?" And I said, "Well, that was my girlfriend. I didn't know she was going to be full face in the picture. I'd have moved her out of the way, and I'd have gotten there." She's full face in the pictures, and I'm just like half of me behind Ms. McComb. So. But you never know, and who you meet, and Tupelo's just, and the reason that chapel was built was because Elvis wanted a place in Tupelo for the fans to go and sit and think about. That was their meditation. He said, "I want them to have a meditation garden. I want them to have a place to go and think about, a quiet place to go." And people get married there and things. But that little chapel is there for that reason. And I don't know if some of the bushes have grown up, and I need to make sure that they're because supposedly when you look at the altar through the glass, you can see the birthplace directly behind it, and that was why it was built like that, with that view of the birthplace. So, you know, people always talk about the birthplace, and around here, it's just kind of a place that you always take. You know, if somebody's coming to visit, you take them to the birthplace. And you can tell if they're really an Elvis fan, because when they come back, they'll go, "Can we go back to the birthplace? I want to go back." You know? Because it never ceases to amaze me that I realize that people save for a lifetime to be able to come to Tupelo, to be able to do that. And about 3 or 4 years ago, I think they asked me if I would be a member of the board of directors for the birthplace. And I just thought about, I'd love to be able to tell Ms. McComb, because she's pretty much started it and got it going. She'd be like, Tom was on the board. I knew he'd end up being there one day. You know, they have to do what he says now. You know? But just keep, you know, I can just hear her go, "Look out for the boy. Just look out for the boy. Make sure to take care of him." So I feel a great responsibility, and I'm glad that there are people, you know, out there like yourself that are still doing that same message. And it's all about, what can you discover and what can you find out about Elvis that you may not know, and isn't that cool? And I always try to, just for fun sometimes, do the Kevin Bacon 6 degrees thing.
Yeah. I'll
just go, okay.
You have like 1 degree.
Yeah. I got to wave to him when he came in the car one time. I think I waved, so we were like 1 degree right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's try to find a connection, just some random topic, and just find a connection, and you can do it with Elvis within 6 degrees, because he's just a part of everything. And you know, through his taste and clothes and housing and, you know, cars and music and style, there's just so many ways, so many doorways to him, you know, to come in on it. And I'm excited, because it just seems like there's always something else. Like Epic is now, and you know, now I'm hearing too, Epic, he may not be done even after Epic. There may be another, you know,
I hope
Epic after that. And I'm like, I just hope I live long enough for all this, because this is, you know, let's get it in, Baz. Let's get busy.
Like today, please.
You know? Yeah, today. I'm just gonna go to Canada next time. So.
Yeah, I'll just do it on a whim.
You got a passport, you got a car, you just go.
You just have to join our spontaneous group chat. And then
did you have a theater ticket when you left, or were you just knowing that was going to work out when you got there?
We had a theater ticket before we left. Yeah, like Diane she's like, I booked a plane ticket, I booked 2 tickets to the theater, and I have a hotel room. And I said, well, there's always room for one more, and I just decided to go.
So I guess, you know, just a few little like wrap up questions.
Sure.
Here's one for you.
You probably should have wrapped me up a long time ago.
No, we
feel free to cut massive amount out of that first 30 minutes.
No way.
It was
no way.
Perfect.
Yeah. So if you could ask Elvis any question, what would you ask him? What does the doorbell sound like at Graceland?
I think about, you know, what you miss most about Memphis. Everything. I would ask him to tell me about Tupelo. I would love to know about I'd you know, tell me about Tupelo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. We only I think ever hear, he always tells the guys, like, remember Larry Geller's book? It's like, go visit Tupelo, go see where I grew up, and you'll understand more about me. And I guess my other question on that vein, would you recommend to a new Elvis fan or somebody who's taking their first pilgrimage to the Memphis, Tupelo area, do you go to the birthplace first, or do you go to Graceland first?
You know, I made fun of, you know, you should see Tupelo first, but I think you've got to get that out of the way to really understand, because once you see Graceland and all of that, I think the simplicity of the birthplace experience is even more impactful, if that makes sense, because you've been overwhelmed with color and cars and guns and jumpsuits and, you know, still the jumpsuit experience is just unbelievable.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what Angie did there, just amazing. and once you've seen a shot out television screen,
Mhm.
you can talk about it, but it's seeing it that really, I think you understand when you get to Tupelo. I think you can mentally take yourself back now, like, oh, you know what? All of that came from him having nothing. Okay, now I
Yep.
kind of get it now.
Mm.
So yeah, so I would say that, because then you can freely also experience the rest of Tupelo. You want to go
Right.
to Tupelo
True.
Hardware, you want to go to Johnny's Drive-In and get a Johnny Burger and sit in
Yes,
the
of
booth,
course. Of
you want to
course.
do all that
Mhm.
because you need to, and you need to have time to just kind of take it all in and not feel
Mhm.
like I've got to get to Memphis. I've never seen Memphis. I've got to get there.
Yep.
Do all that and then
Yeah.
like experience the
Mhm.
Mississippi part of the life, because those were so impactful on him. So
hmm And what do you think people can still learn from Elvis and take from Elvis's story that's relevant in 2025 and the crazy world that we live in?
one thing would be be careful with your dreams, because every dream he ever had dreamed came true,
Mhm.
but he came with some other stuff that 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 you don't dream about, that you don't think about. And I think it's very much a fairy tale story that a lot of fairy tales don't end with happily ever after. There's some stuff that goes another way, and I think it's really about finding out about how one life can be so impactful, and what have you done to be impactful for someone's life. I talk about, yes, I think candlelight is so important to honor Elvis, but I also think it's important that you go to your parents' grave or your family's grave. I think it's responsible as a family member that you honor your family the same way Elvis honored his family uh, through all those years. Aunt Delta living in the house as long as she
Mhm.
was alive, and Dodger and
And
all
that
those
dog.
people, and yeah, that dog. Um, but there's things you can do. How can you be Elvis? How can you help someone? And the coolest part of Elvis was, and so many of the guys. I mean, Red West was a friend of mine, and Jerry Schilling is still. I talked to him last night. They tell stories about, there are so many people that were helped by Elvis that have absolutely no idea he was the one that did it.
Yeah.
They'd read a story of, some family was robbed and the Christmas money was gone. So Jerry, Red, you guys go buy a bunch of toys, and here's an envelope for $10,000, and don't let them know.
Mhm.
Just leave it, knock on the door, and say this is from somebody that wanted you to have it. Just
Mhm.
didn't do it for any. What have you done to do that? What have you done to be Elvis for
Yeah.
somebody? It's small things, because right now in the world we need that.
Mhm.
We need that. Where I used to work, we were always having these debates about, when do you think that started? When did it become so
Mhm.
politically? Where did it become left and right and blah blah blah? And I was just like, my answer is always this, this right here,
Yeah.
this phone that just brings information to us,
Mhm.
and now is
Mhm.
bringing us so much information that it's not even real.
Yeah.
Videos of Elvis yelling and cursing on
Yep.
stage,
Yep.
AI,
Mhm.
like, there are going to be people that see that and think that's real.
Right. We
Yeah.
talked about that
Mhm.
yesterday. Like,
And it's
Exactly.
it's kind of like my Chat GPT thing. If I had not known
yep.
that he had recorded a song named Sylvia, I might have thought those were all the songs that he had.
Yeah.
hmm
So there's a trust thing. I think that phone and computers are bringing us so much information, bombarding us, that we're going to have to go back to the
Mhm.
books,
hmm
and
Yeah.
verify things and get a
Yep.
couple of sources on, well, that
Mhm.
was in that book and that was in that book, so that sounds like that could have happened. Um, this free information is not vetted anymore. It's just kind of
hmm
out there. And I was a broadcast minor. I had to take news writing.
Yeah.
And I remember so many times I would say something in a script, and I would say, well, this, the teacher would say, you're taking an opinion. You can't give an opinion. You just have to present
Mhm.
the fact. it wasn't a blustery day. It was a cold day. Blustery, define blustery. How fast does a blustery wind? 20 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour? It's little things like that. There's no, the good thing is anybody can do a podcast, and the bad thing is anybody can do a podcast.
Yes.
So it's, it used to have to go to a TV station to have a podcast. It was called a newscast, but now it's like there's so much out there now that be careful and take care of each other where you can, and just keep sharing the Elvis information, because there's still so much to find out and to learn about. But my main thing would be try to be Elvis where you are. Try to do things for people. Be that person that really takes that. It's not just being a fan and absorbing the music and sitting back and watching it, but like, what can I now do to live like that, of that part of his life, of the giving part, that we all think that's great, but we don't really think that it's not about having money. You don't have to have money. You can volunteer and do something and help somebody and be that anonymous Elvis person, So
I love that.
Is that a downer? It's a downer ending. It feels like
no, I don't think so. No, I think
okay.
No,
we can talk a little bit. Yeah, be Elvis where you can in your way. And then, so what are some things you're working on that people can keep an eye out for and look out for? Where can we find you?
I do a lot for Cody Danath and hosting a lot of his festivals. etafestivals.com. As we record this, a week ago, I was in Daphne, Alabama, which is around Mobile, hosting an Elvis festival. And in a week, I'll be in Hot Springs, Arkansas, hosting a festival for Cody. I kind of help set up, when the guys, Cody has these incredible show ideas and concepts, and I kind of am there to give a little history about what you might be seeing. And for the new Elvis fans, even for the older Elvis fans, just to give a little context to what it is you're seeing. And I get to be Charlie Hodge and hand out guitars and water and scarves, which is kind of cool. And I'm working on the Nashville Elvis Festival, which will be in March, the 19th through the 22nd, NashvilleElvisFestival.com. And it's our 10th anniversary.
Awesome.
And we've got some really cool stuff planned for that. We always like surprises in Nashville. You never know when Winona might come on stage and sing Burning Love with Dean Z.
Love it.
Which she did one time. So
that's insane.
I'm doing that, and winterizing the yard. I'm doing a lot of that. It's
fun.
It's one day I'm on stage at Memphis, with thunderous applause as I stand amongst all of Elvis's people that he worked with, and I'm signing autographs, and the next day I'm in the backyard mowing. So it's a balancing act. It's a balancing act. But
will we see you?
I love being home. So.
Oh, good. But will we see you in Memphis in January?
I think I have a lifetime contract.
Okay. You haven't broken the rule.
Don't kill anyone.
Don't. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't. Yeah. And also next year, it's pretty cool because I tell you, I don't know if you can see it right there.
Beautiful.
Right there.
Yes.
That is my double platinum album award I got from Graceland in 2021 for 20 years of service to Elvis Presley. Presented to me by Alicia and Jack Soden for 20 years. And next year is my 25th year of working.
Awesome.
So I think I get a 45 for that. So I'll put that employee award up there with that one. But next year's my 25th year of hosting stuff at Graceland. And
amazing.
And I'll tell you, and Joel talked about this. And Joel's so funny when he gets on stage because he talks about way more than he should be talking about. And it's so great. 27 is the 50th anniversary. And that's going to be an iconic number.
Booked, ready.
Well,
ready to go.
49 is going to be huge because why take a year? Joel is like, what do you do before a big one? You have a big one too. So you're going to start seeing stuff coming out about 26.
Okay. So we just need to, at this point, get a property in Memphis, rent it out for the rest of the year.
It'd be cheaper to move
It'd be cheaper at this point.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
We'll work on that.
Good to know.
their airport, those planes go everywhere, and you can get anywhere you need to go. So I
We're
would
all
suggest at this point, Zillow. Just go to Zillow
Okay,
and
all right.
find a
Okay.
property.
I keep trying to
Okay.
tell them. I keep pulling up listings.
We'll live in
They
like
don't seem
a
to-
sorority house, but it's just
Exactly.
Elvis people.
Yeah.
Or ever since they finished the interstate to Memphis, you can live in
Mhm.
Tupelo, and it's only
We
like
could do that.
it's
True.
like 56 minutes away, something
Yeah.
like that.
That ain't no thing.
See, we have
Yeah.
options.
Love
And
it.
I'll
there's
talk them into it.
And you go by an outlet mall too, so there's always
There you go.
shopping. So
Love
it's
an
pretty
outlet.
I'm sold.
good. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Down payment.
Come see us.
Done.
Yeah. But come see. Let me know the next time you're around in Tupelo.
Oh my
'cause
gosh, of
Yeah,
course.
we will.
I know the family that runs Johnny's will get you the Elvis booth.
Ooh.
Ooh, okay,
Yeah.
exclusive.
That's
The
Absolutely.
burgers are better in the Elvis booth. That's
Okay.
Okay.
yeah. As
All
far
right,
as you
well.
know. As far as you know there.
I just need another Tupelo hardware shirt. Like that is
Yeah,
just
I
what
need
That's
one.
yeah.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
true.
super
You know,
cute.
they told me a story one time. Some Japanese tourists came in and bought a box of nails because the box said Tupelo Hardware stenciled on it. you know?
Oh, that's kind of
And
cute though.
and they bought the box of nails and they mailed it back to Japan. They said the postage must have been way more than the box of nails.
Right.
And they, through the interpreter, they said, "Why are you buying a box of nails?"
Mm-hmm.
And they said, "When we get back to Japan, we're
Mhm.
going to give them to our friends because it's a
Aw,
nail from Tupelo Hardware." And
That's
I'm like,
crazy.
that's so cute.
"Oh my gosh!" I mean, so you never know. There's
Mm-hmm.
people are smart. They're out there thinking.
Yeah.
Box of nails. Hey, next time I see it, I'll give you a nail.
And he'll be like,
Yeah.
try.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
But thank you. I'm so
Yeah.
honored to and
Of course.
Yeah.
for anyone that's still out there watching this, these women hung in there with me as I kept delaying because I had so much going on, and except for one time, Millie, I think we made it through okay with the dog.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
Absolutely.
There's no telling what the upstairs looks like right now. But I'll get up there and take care of it.
all good.
Well, we're absolutely honored
Yes.
to have been able to spend this time and chat with you. Thanks so much for
Thank
talking
you.
Tupelo
Yeah.
with Tupelo Tom.
There you go.
There you
I
go.
like
That was
Ooh,
kind of
Nice
catchy.
tagline.
that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
made it up on the spot.
Good for you. That's some of my
Thank
best
you.
work is on the spot. There you
Yeah.
go.
Well, thank
Off the
you so
cuff.
much.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
That's all we have for today. Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Chronicles of the King podcast. If you love what you heard, please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback helps bring the King's story to life. You can follow us on social media at the Chronicles of the King for updates, upcoming series, and more. We'd love to hear your input and any of your favorite Elvis moments. Until next time, keep rocking and rolling, and we'll be back soon with more stories from Elvis's extraordinary life. With TLC, we'll see you on the next episode of the Chronicles of the King.